Hello, Gemini. My name's Echo. Before we get started, I just want to tell you happy new moon. We have a black moon this season. We're going to go ahead and do your reading for January 2025. We're in an energy right now where we're releasing what doesn't work for us. And during this time, you're going to be reconfiguring and then going back and starting fresh, starting new with a new plan. Given that this is what we do during New Year's anyway, this is a great place to be. So without any further ado, let's go ahead and get started. I'm going to start with the Runic Tarot. I like this deck because if you've ever used the runes before and tarot, but separately, this is a great way that the two of them are combined. I thought the artist did a really great job representing what the runes really mean. If you've never used runes before at all, it's okay because there are explanations that read very closely off the card, and I'll do my best to touch on those for you while we do our reading. So let's go ahead and get started. First, you have the Emperor in reverse. There aren't any runes on this particular card, go figure, but everybody knows that the Emperor is actually a card of energy and power, mostly a fatherly type figure. If it's in reverse, it may mean that you're a little bit tired because you've been doing a lot of fatherly or parental duties. Male or female, doesn't really matter, but you have been heading up your family. You have been almost to your detriment, putting forth all the effort and love you have to give. And actually, I take that back. There is a rune on this. On the man's belt, the Emperor, see if I can get this to focus, is Thorisas in reverse. Thorisas is actually the spear or the thorn. The thorn is one that can prick, but it is also one that can do harm to the person wielding the thorn. So say you pick a rose for somebody and you offer them the rose, you always make sure you remove the thorn because it's an affectionate thing to give somebody a beautiful rose and you don't want them to prick their finger. The same goes for you. As you are reaching in to pick that rose, be careful you don't pierce your own finger on that thorn. The fact that this is here in the position it is right off the bat tells me that you're very much in an energy where you are doing things almost to your own detriment and you're becoming aware of it. That's okay though, because if you're aware, it means it's a really good place to start off figuring out what needs fixing. If you know what the problem is, then you know how to address it, I guess is the way you could read that card. So don't hurt yourself too much on the idea that you're putting forth so much effort, because Gemini, if you're putting forth this much effort, if you're giving everything you've got the way you are, it can be to your detriment, but believe me, it comes back in dividends, because if it is a literal child, remember, they are a legacy and that energy does come back to you. And in my experience, because I'm a parent myself, it seems to me that they have more energy than we do, right? Isn't that always the way it goes? The Golden Thread Tarot is going to be next. I really like this one too, so let's see what it says. You have the Void. The void indicates that there is a little bit of darkness around you. It may be your own state of mind. It may be you feel a little bit blocked from things you would like to see, or the fear of the unknowing may be lingering about you. But the thing to remember about the void is that the void is not the dark, eternal abyss that everyone makes it out to be. It is actually the absence of light, the empty slate where potential is first born. So if you have the void sitting in this position, it means that a fresh start is there. You are about to draw a clean slate. You're probably already in the process of doing so with this black moon. So let's go ahead and continue with the Lunar Phases Oracle deck. You have Realization. If you notice the portal that the individual is walking to, very much a Alice in Wonderland type figure standing there. I don't know if you can see her with her blue dress and her blonde hair. She is standing within the keyhole, and a keyhole, obviously, the keys represent potential. I mean, where you're going, new doors are opening for you. The Realization card says that this is something you're pulling out of your own mind. You're coming to those aha moments that are helping you find what doors to open. And it's almost like second nature to you. You're not really having to put all the thought into it, but the fact that you are is making more clarity in what those doors might be or where they might lead you're not just looking at the door itself or the key or even the keyhole, but the potential path beyond what you want to come out of opening that door, Gemini. So that's really good that these realizations are coming to you during this time. Next, I'm going to draw from the Animal Spirit Oracle deck. You have Deer Spirit, bring a gentle touch. Well, that's pretty self-explanatory. The deer is, as you know, a very gentle animal, and it seems that even the slightest little action is going to have a ripple effect for you, because just as a deer goes through the woods and wanders through the meadows, he's always on his guard and he moves very silently, but he is very aware of his surroundings, knowing that he too is capable of making noise within those surroundings. So you know that you need to bring a gentle touch to whatever it is you do. You're not looking to reinvent the wheel, and you definitely don't want to take a hammer to a situation, dear Gemini. If you know that the smallest little effort can bring those dividends, can make those changes for you, you're pretty good about knowing how do I want to put this? You're very good about knowing where it is you want to go with things. A lot of your energy is pretty much minute to minute. But once you've set your mind on something, you're set, you're there. Swaying you is actually very difficult. So bring a gentle touch to whatever it is you do, Gemini. And all of this overwhelm and dark energy is going to flip over into realizations and finally a small, gentle approach. If you just take action on whatever it is that's calling to you. Without further ado, let's go ahead and throw you some cards. First, you have the High Priest, the Nine of Wands, the Knight of Pentacles, and the Four of Pentacles. So in this first row, the High Priest in reverse actually indicates that you're realizing something is not for you. It may not mean that the particular life path you're on isn't working for you. Then again, it could mean that. But something here isn't resonating with you and just doesn't feel right. It may have served you once upon a time and made you feel very fulfilled, but lately you're not getting that same vibe off of this. This can also point to the end of a rite of passage, as in you are closing out a chapter. The High Priest points particularly to lessons that are to be learned, wisdom you have gained, and particularly if you're talking in the personal spectrum, something as serious as, say, the union of a marriage, because this is a serious chapter in a person's life. But don't panic. It doesn't mean your marriage is ending. It just means that things in that area may have felt like you've got your status quo. You've learned how that has to operate, and there's really not a lesson there. You've got that part figured out. The Nine of Wands in reverse says that you're giving ground at this point. Normally where you would stand your ground as the wounded warrior, you're giving ground now. And again, this may be playing to your detriment, but it can also indicate that you're happy to give that ground when you can. You're aware that not everything is going to be as you want it to be, and not everything has to be as you want it to be, Gemini, because if we had our way all the time, we would just become spoiled brats, okay? We would never appreciate the gifts we had. We would never learn how to operate on gratitude, and we would just expect that life give. So you're giving ground at this point. Just beware that you're not doing this at your own detriment. Next, you have the Nine of Pentacles in reverse. The Nine of Pentacles in reverse indicates a feeling of you're not getting the returns you want in a very physical meaning. It could be money. It could be that you have debt you have to pay off. It could be something in the home space, something you deal with every day is not performing it the best way it could. It also means if you do have plans to make changes for these, hold off. Don't jump in with both feet. Think, look before you leap, okay? Because if something isn't returning, something isn't operating the way it needs to, obviously it means we need to rehash the plan, and you do want to think before you jump in. Don't get stuck in a frozen mindset, okay, deer in the headlights, but take that gentle action, just a gentle touch, after you've put in which direction you want to go with whatever that issue is. This could mean quitting a job that isn't serving you anymore. This could mean moving out of a house that isn't standing up to the standards you need it to be. It could mean not going forward with an endeavor or a sale to an individual if you feel that you're not getting what is worth, what is due you. Conversely, if this has to do anything with a debt that you owe somebody else, be sure you get on top of that, because as we close out the year, you want to come into 2025 with a fresh energy, okay? If you can't pay off whatever that debt is right away, that's okay, but now would be a great time to start putting together a plan. So when you are ready to jump in with both feet, you have everything ironed out so it can all be smooth sailing for you. Four of Pentacles says you are aware of keeping your own worth and things to yourself at this time. This can be an energy of greed if you're not giving back when something is given to you. And the law of karma dictates that, yes, we will reap what we sow, but we also need to pay forward what was given to us. Keep what is good for you. Make sure you're secure in yourself so that you can give to others, okay? Just a little word. This whole top row says to me that you need to be aware of what's going on with you. What can you change or get rid of, Gemini, to move into a smooth 2025? This is only January, though, that we're talking about. It is the first month of the year, so give yourself a little bit of good grace. You can't, Rome wasn't built in a day, right? So let's go ahead and drop a second row for you, Gemini. You have the Lovers. This is your card, Gemini, so you're coming out in your own reading, which is fantastic. The Five of Swords in reverse. The Hanged Man. And the Three of Pentacles in reverse. Okay. So the Lover's card says you are coming front and center. Given that you're putting all this energy in about where you stand and where you want to move, this card makes absolute sense here. This can also mean that there is a choice to be made. From the sounds of it, you're in the mix of putting together what to keep and what to get rid of, what to change and what to address in a new way. So making those choices is going to be key to your happiness in January. Okay, Gemini? This can also mean that there is love on offer. If someone is giving back to you the same energy, the same vibe that you're putting in, show them you appreciate that, okay? It can mean just a friendly, hey, I thought of you when I saw this funny thing. Or, hey, have you read this article? If you know something would be of someone's interest, just let them know you're still out there. And while you're focusing on you, you care about them the same way they care about you. This can be a love interest. This could be your spouse. This could be close friends or social connections that you just haven't talked to in a while, okay? So just be sure while you're giving to yourself, you're giving to the people who are also giving to you. Gratitude, like we talked about. The Five of Swords in reverse tells you it's time to let go of all the things in your mind and all the thoughts that are holding you back. If you have any naysay or I should be doing better, I should be here, I should be there, use that as an energy to cheerlead yourself, Gemini, and not one to beat yourself down. You cannot compare yourself to anybody else, so don't. But you can compare yourself to you. And what I mean by that is don't beat yourself up. Again, more or less, what am I doing to reach my goals? How can I champion myself? Okay. If there is any thought in that process where you run into blocks, recognize the ones that are your own things to move past and what was put there by somebody else, because nobody knows you like you, not even your closest person. The Hangman says you are gaining new perspective. If you notice in this card, the raven is handing this individual the pentacle from the tree, even though he's not particularly in the position to accept it. You're gaining a new mindset and a new approach to things and almost reinventing you, but there are good things on offer to you in January for doing so. You're doing the work and you're going to reap the rewards, and they're probably going to come up in a very unexpected way. I'm sure this young man did not anticipate a bird coming up and flying overhead and landing on the branch that he is hanging underneath. Although birds do live in trees, I'm pretty sure he didn't climb that tree with that bird already there. Okay, he had no way of anticipating that the bird was going to fly over and offer him this gift. So if you clear your head and find your mindset and figure out where it is you want to go and what needs changing, the rewards are on offer for you here in January. The Three of Pentacles in reverse says that you aren't putting enough creativity into the things that matter to you. And it's time to focus on that, Gemini, because when you put into those creative endeavors, like we said, they are going to return dividends. This may feel like you're in a creative lull, conversely, not that you're not putting in the effort, but you've had a bit of a dry spell. You may have several projects in mind and you're not sure which one to focus on. You may have several different approaches to one project and you're not sure which one to take. But honestly, if you're putting in the effort, you're going to see things return. You just lately haven't been able to put the focus in that you want to. So you may be being called back to your creative space, back to the tools that you use or the materials that you use to create something. So we're going to drop a few cards here, Gemini, for advice for January 2025. What advice do you have for Gemini? What advice do we have for Gemini going forward? I call from the Echo. First, you have the Death card, the Seven of Swords reversed, and the Knight of Wands reversed. The Death card says it's time to let go of whatever isn't serving you. The knight on the pale horse is death itself, bearing his banner, but you will notice that the young man beneath him, the young boy, is offering him those white flowers. In the tarot, flowers are a symbol of innocence, as is the color white, and this young boy is a symbol of renewal. So if you let go of the things that aren't working for you, you are going to be able to move forward, Gemini. As we've seen throughout this reading, I love that this is actually in your advice card because it's telling you, hey, I meant what I said. Take this advice. It means something, okay? You have the key. You have the endless void of potential. You know where you've been and what's not working for you, and now it's time for that gentle approach. Your next card of advice is the Seven of Swords in reverse. The Seven of Swords is sometimes referred to as a liar, cheater, stealer energy, and you may feel like someone has been lying to you, cheating you, or stealing from you. This could mean something in a very physical sense, something in a mental sense, or emotional, but the swords do point towards something that is more mind-oriented and communication. So somebody is either not communicating clearly to you at this point, Gemini. Be sure that when you put your point forward, you are, because at this time you may have ideas you're not sharing with anybody. You may have things you're saying to people that aren't coming out quite the way you want them to. But this could be because you're doing this strategically. As the Seven of Swords, this man is taking the swords from the camp behind him to make sure that the army is not fully capable of taking him down. They're working on a very limited supply of weapons. However, the swords he leaves behind him do indicate that they will be aware of which way he's gone. So if you are not being truthful, it will catch up to you. Just be warned. Be sure that if you are moving in a tactical position and in a very strategic way, you're doing so covering as many bases as you possibly can. This doesn't mean, Gemini, that you're going to be blindsided or someone is going to creep up on you, but just be wary. If something doesn't seem upfront and honest with you, trust that intuitive response because it is correct. The Knight of Wands in reverse says that you are feeling a lack of passion. You are feeling a lack of the vibrance that you generally have, Gemini. This is telling me that your advice is go forward when you feel it's necessary, but don't pour too much in. You don't have to reinvent the wheel. You are not looking to do things from the ground up. Use the spark that you already have and the encouragement you already feel on endeavors you've been working on. If something doesn't vibe with you, don't put into it because that is where you're going to be draining your energy, okay? And I do want to draw one last card for you, Gemini. What blessing are you capable of getting in January 2025? You don't see this very often. There are a lot of things astrological that say it's going to be an interesting year. For some, it will feel a lot like 2024, but if you keep the faith and keep putting forth that effort, you are going to see those dividends in return. So January 2025, what blessing is Gemini likely to get? You have the Eight of Swords reversed. The Eight of Swords indicates that this woman is blocked, bound by her own energy, where she could very easily escape. She could walk between those swords, simply rub up between one, take that off, take the blindfold off, and the castle's behind her. The fact that this is in reverse says that you are doing just that, Gemini. You are taking off the blindfold and freeing yourself of the limiting thoughts and beliefs that have maybe held you back in the past. This could be where you gain your new ideas. You are changing how you used to see or think about the way things need to be. And you are opening up communication in a way you might have hesitated to do so before. This can also indicate that you are opening up the heart space, as when you speak, you are genuine. And this can mean that it's not only coming from the mind and a new approach to how you speak to someone, but it's coming from the heart, because you are going to go forward with genuine. You've seen time and time again that this is what comes back. So you may not be the most emotional sign in the world, Gemini, and that's great. You're going forward with a clear head. But when you speak, it is going to be from the heart. You're not a bullshit artist. So this is a good blessing for you, Gemini. You are going to have that ability to speak and think very freely and speak your mind with the most legitimate and best intentions possible. I do appreciate you coming to join me for this reading, Gemini, and I hope you have a wonderful January 2025. My name is Echo. Take care.